appreciate you taking some time to come on here and share your story, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's great.
Of course, you wrote a book called Tip of the Spear, and we're going to get into that. But I also want to get into, just like in the very beginnings, where are you originally from?
Okay, so yeah, I'm originally from. So I was born in Fall River Mills, California, but I was raised in Oregon. So a little logging town called Lowell, Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's outside of Springfield, Eugene. But yeah, I was raised there, and then at 18, I joined my first branch of the military to get out of our little town of 1,300 people.
So when you say the first branch,
Yeah, so I've been in three branches of the military. I started off in the Navy, and I did 4 years in the Navy, and then I got out for a while and was trying to, like, I don't know, kind of figure a path for myself. But yeah, I just military is more kind of my niche. So at the time, my ex-wife and we agreed upon the Air Force because it wasn't the Army,
right?
which is what I wanted, but we were good with the Air Force. And then when we got divorced, I switched over to the Army. So
Navy first, 4 years, Air Force, 4 years again.
about five in the Air Force.
Okay, what was your MOSs in both of those two?
So I was a bosun's mate in
Okay,
the Navy, and I was an ammo troop in the Air Force. And
ammo troop. Okay,
yeah, it was a great job. Ammo is a really good career field, tight knit, but
yeah. So after 9 years of service, you get out. Somewhere within this, I take it, while you were in the Air Force, you decided, okay, maybe it was after the divorce, I'm going Army. And did you have a break, a separation break there for a long period of time, or no? Okay.
no, I did a program called Blue to Green, and it's where you
Oh,
transition directly over to the Army from the Air Force. And there's also programs like Green to Blue where Army can transfer over to the Air Force and pick up a job there or whatnot like that. If they're in an overmanned career field and they're moving to an undermanned career field. So like me, my job was overmanned in the Air Force, but Special Forces in the Army was not overmanned. So I was
yeah.
able to kind of take that leap of faith and jump straight into something.
So this is basically what you wanted from day one, though, or at least somewhere within your Navy career, you decided that Army was the direction that you wanted to go into.
So yeah and no. I mean, I had I went through, did my time in the Navy and whatnot like that. I actually, I had the special operations, I guess, bug, you could say,
Mm-hmm.
but I failed out of buds. And so, with that kind of lingering over my head and, really, I would say it really, like, it destroyed my confidence.
Mm.
So the Air Force, I was going to try for their special operations program, but it's crazy enough, I wasn't medically qualified. It's like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, with the Army, I had so many negatives stacked up against me with, like, divorces, failing out of, buds, and this thing's going wrong and this thing's going wrong. And I needed a victory. I needed something to, completely just immerse myself into. And I needed a W in my column because I had a whole lot of L's. And, and yeah, I mean, I was learning, I was definitely, I can't really call it failures, but as I was not achieving my set goal, I was learning from it. But man, there's only so much you can learn before you need a W in your column.
Yeah, I call that
And
failing
yeah,
forward, right? Because you're still moving.
yeah, I've done
Yeah.
a lot of failing forward, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's basically. So then, when I was going through my second divorce, yeah, unfortunately enough, but I needed a complete change of everything. And so I was actually, I was in the Air Force's, like, their personnel office, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
and I saw this poster on the wall that had a guy in uniform, and half of the guy was in an Air Force uniform, the other half in the Army, and it said blue to green. So I went in and I asked, I was like, hey, what is this program about? And they said, well, if you fall underneath these jobs, they're overmanned, you can switch over to the Army. And I was in one of those jobs. And so I started the process, went to a recruiter, and he said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. What do you got? He goes, well, we could take you for a special forces contract. I was like, I have no luck in special operations in the military. He said, you know what? If I don't try, I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. I'll have what ifs just circling around my head.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty sure I know how this is going to end. It's going to end just like the other ones did, but at least I'm going to say I tried. And so, yeah.
So the medical condition that you had within the Air Force that prohibited you from going into special operations there didn't have any effect or bearing on you going into the Army's special forces. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, basically what it was so for the Air Force, they have an amazing, so do all the branches do, but they're pretty strict when it comes to their dudes because, they're, combat control and pararescue that's some top of the line stuff right there.
Yeah.
And it's not that being a Green Beret isn't. A Green Beret definitely is. But there's more flexibility, as in the Air Force. It's basically like, hey man, if you don't meet this standard, sorry, we got a whole lot of guys to choose from. Whereas in the Army, for me, it was like, hey, we understand, it's something that happened in the past because it was depression medication.
Okay.
And it was like, you understand it's something that happened in the past. You're not affected by it now. So yeah, come on over. Whereas in the Air Force, and I understand it, but the Air Force is like, are we going to take a chance with this guy or just, there's a history of it. So no. And I completely understand it, but those dudes, they've got so many guys that they could choose from that are just itching to go into such a small career field like combat control and pararescue. So, they could be choosy if they want, and hey, it's your money. Be choosy as you want.
Well, the pipeline is so long as well over in those types of programs. So, they already know that they're going to have so much attrition. They want to make sure they have the best going into that pipeline, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I totally get it. So, looking at this thing, did you have to go, under this program, did you have to go back through a basic training since you had been out for so long from a basic training environment?
Well, yeah. So I went through Navy basic, and then when I transitioned over to the Air Force, I just kind of had to do just like a prior service indoctrination course, whatever, really easy. The Army, not so much. It was back to infantry basic and everything, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it because it took my mind off of everything. I was able to totally immerse myself into it. I'm the old guy there. I'm 29 years old. I'm the old guy there, and I'm helping these young cats out. Just like, hey man, it's the game. He doesn't hate you because he's yelling at you. It's the game. Play the game.
Right.
It's like the world's not ending because you got you got tore up. It's this is what it is.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, and it took my mind off everything.
How old were you? What year was this? Like 2008 or something like that?
2008.
Yeah. Okay. You go through the normal pipeline that you do then for 18X, and you're off at OSIT, and I guess after that you end up going off to pre-SFAS before airborne school?
No. So how it worked for me was when I transitioned over to the Army, I had to do this prior service course in New Mexico, which was supposed to be, I guess, the old saying, like every person in the Army is a rifleman first. Same thing with the Marine Corps. Yeah, well, that's basically what it's supposed to be. And then I was supposed to meet up with the infantry class at Benning when they reached AIT. Well, I wasn't exactly sure where I was supposed to go or anything, so I just fell into line, and I ended up, going through the entire basic, which was fine.
Yeah.
With me. But then I went basic to airborne, and then airborne, I went over to pre-selection.
Yeah.
And then from pre-selection to selection, and
Right.
and then on the
The
14
grind.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
long time.
what was it like after, having gone already through the Navy and the Air Force, and now you're going into the Army? What was like the differences of those three? I'm just very curious. There's not very many people I've ran into that has almost circled the main four branches, and I'm not leaving out the Coast Guard or even the Space Force here, but just
Yeah.
yeah.
So the Navy, switching from the Navy over was the biggest challenge I had because the rank structure is completely
Oh
different.
yeah.
And I was going from, the mid 90s to late 90s Navy to where certain things were still acceptable to more of a PC friendly 2003 Air Force to where my jokes all of a sudden not so funny anymore. And there's a lot of people that could be offended being on an all male ship to,
Yeah.
both female and male airmen. So yeah, I had to grow up very quickly, or else I'd lose my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's good. You can't yeah. It's mid '90s. I mean,
When you landed at Camp McCall, well, I'm just curious to know, you'd already reached this point. This was your dream. You wanted to go into special operations. What was that feeling like when you got there? Was it like an, oh shit, this is real, or?
so during pre-selection training, that was about a month long. I remember thinking, like, this is extremely hard, but it's all the stuff I'm good at. So
Mm-hmm.
like I figured out, when I went through buds that I'm good with doing everything except for anything underwater. I do not like to be under the water. I like to breathe. And so, and the reason why special forces and Green Beret, it was kind of right up my alley is because, yeah, we have our dive teams and our Halo teams and stuff like that, but you could be on a team where they just say, hey, man, you're going to carry a lot of weight and you're just going to move and go find the enemy, find, fix, and kill the enemy. And I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't have to go to dive school. And I was like, man, this is going to be great. Why doesn't everybody do this?
Right.
So, but yeah, just carrying heavy weights and movement to contact and just, all the stuff that, I was like, yeah, this is me. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, when I got to Camp McCall and I was going through the pre-selection course, I remember again, it was extremely hard. It was rigorous. It was supposed to be. It was actually harder for me than selection was, but they do that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys that go through the pre-selection, because not everybody goes through pre-selection.
Right.
Yeah, just the X-rays do.
Right.
But when I got to selection, I was, besides team week. I mean, team week was super hard, obviously, but I remember pre-selection. There was times in pre-selection that were a lot harder than selection was.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did it feel finally getting off the Robin Sage and finally getting a chance to go through that and put on don that Green Beret?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I guess the Q course is extremely long, and it's kind of you never quite know that you're good. So I know a lot of courses I've been to, as you progress through their pipeline, you start to get more seniority. Guys kind of leave you alone. It's like, all right, hey man, we're done pounding dudes into the dirt. Let's just, well, it seemed like every single phase, minus language phase, every single phase in the Q course, you're a brand new guy again. You didn't know anything. It was beat down 101. It's like you were back in selection. It's, man, when am I ever gonna get some sort of respect? I'm here. Well, I finally, I get the Robin Sage, and it was it was tough. Our Robin Sage was, winter storms and yeah, it was.
North Carolina's
was
no joke in the winter too at times.
Yeah, I mean, I remember our infill was, we were in 3 feet of snow, and all of our canteens and everything were frozen, and it was just like, what is going on right now? This is and so, so when I finally everything is said and done, because then again, even in Robin Sage, you kind of were back to that new guy thing again, and that's the end. And when it was all finally said and done, I think I remember wondering what's next? as far as in like, when am I going to be the new guy again? You don't have to wait long. You got to just show up to your company, and then it's like you've never done anything in your life. You're this piece of shit coming in, and you're not battle tested, and no one can trust. Yeah, and I was like, holy cow, man! I'm constantly just a new guy.
Yeah.
I was like, when do you ever not become a new guy anymore?
Yeah.
Like, when you retire.
What was your rank at this time period? Because typically guys that go the 18 X-ray, I guess by the time they finish this part, it's not too long before they're pinning on E5. So were you already an E5 or E4 coming into this? Okay.
Yeah, I was an E5, and I pinned on E6 before I graduated the Q course. So
yeah. Okay, that makes total sense, and that's kind of typical too. You end up they don't want somebody walking around with the Green Beret on that's a PFC. It just doesn't fit.
I wish they would bring those days back.
Yeah, well, and back in the day, it used to be that you had to have 2 years of experience in the military before you could even apply for Q course and everything, and you had to be at least the rank of an E4. And so I kind of feel the same way. I kind of feel like it's a better pipeline. I totally understand the need to ramp up the force, and they're allowing the 18 X-ray program and all that kind of good stuff. But there's something to be said about that other route too, because you gain a lot of maturity. You get a chance to go within the conventional forces and see what that's like, and having to do the things, marching, not having your hands in your pockets and those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even though once you become a Green Beret, you're supposed to have your hands in your pockets.
Right, exactly. Right. It's
standard issue. In your hair completely out of regs, but that's just,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you end up going through this, and I guess, did you select 7th Special Forces Group, or how did that work out?
Oh, man. So, yeah, I was selected for 7th Special Forces Group.
Okay.
And that all came after a language aptitude test.
Okay.
So in selection, they were like, wow, you are very physical. You are a team player. And I have a couple, whenever guys talk to me about any special operations, I was like, it's easy. I was like, always look for work, carry the heaviest shit, and always smile regardless of how you feel. Just smile, and then you'll be fine. Well, test scores come into that too, because special forces, I can't say unlike, but they're very different from the different branches, because we do our alternate language, and Robin Sage, unconventional warfare is supposedly our bread and butter, whereas in a lot of the other special operation units, it's direct action.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do language aptitude tests just to see, hey man, is this guy smart? Well, I was on the level of no way, not even close to smart. Like, curious if I could even speak English.
Oh my God.
And so they look, when it comes down to that, if they want you, they're like, all right, it may take this guy 10 years to get through language school, but we'll get him there. If they want you, then they're going to find the group with, I'm not going to say the lowest language, because that's,
right.
Spanish isn't easy. But with an easier, like, people can pick up on Spanish easier than they can of Ryan Hendrickson going to speak Mandarin Chinese.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Probably not going to happen.
Right.
And 7th group needed guys, and so it was 7th group.
Yeah. So when you arrived there, 18 Charlie, right? 7th Special Forces Group, you're down in, you went down to Fort Walton Beach area, Destin area?
No, when I first got to 7th group, we were still up at Bragg.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that transition like for you then when you got a chance to go?
Yeah, I mean, when I I finished the Q course, no hiccups at all. It was one shot straight through. And graduated, and I'm getting ready to I'm heading over to 7th group, and I'm actually, I actually feel like I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I'm a Green Beret. This is amazing. I got that W in my column, and chest is out there just a tad bit more than normal. I was wearing, got my Green Beret on, and all the other trainees is like, yeah, I did it. And then I show up to the company, and yeah, oh my gosh,
new guy,
extremely new guy,
yeah, fresh meat,
showing up to a company that literally was just returning from Afghanistan. And I showed up, and is wow. Yeah, so it took all of my coolness and everything that I thought that I was leaving the Q course, and it just crushed it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, this is, and I've been the new guy quite a few times, but this was something else. So
Yeah. 2010, I guess, was your first deployment.
yeah, to Afghanistan.
So you guys, okay.
As a Green Beret, yep.
Yeah, so you guys, they must not have been back very long before they just turned right back around then. Yeah, which is typical, the op tempo.
Yeah, it was during the surge. I mean, the surge, they had initiated the surge, and it was everybody. We were home for a couple months, and then it was like, hey, it's time to head back over. We had Admiral Mullen come and talk to us, the Chairman Joint Chief of Staff at the time, and it's just like, hey, sorry, but this needs to be done. So yeah, it was quick.
Where did you end up going? 2010.
So we went to so I actually went to Firebase Tice. Firebase Tice is in Uruzgan province, but all of our missions were in the Helmand. And so we were all down along the Helmand River, which basically my AO was between the Helmand Bridge and Firebase Cobra. And so that whole valley along the river there was, I mean, and it was super bad place, but that was where we conducted our village stability operations.
So tell me what happened on that day within 2010 that kind of changed your life.
So September 11th, we were kicking off on a mission to, it was going to be a company-wide mission, and we're going to clear along the Helmand River. And there was, I mean, the Taliban were dug in there because we'd been duking it out with them for months. And they had like a World War I style trench on one side of the river they'd fight us from, and villages were just completely, they were all basically kill boxes. So, okay, we've been messing around here. We have atmospherics on the valley for the last, 3 months, 4 months. We're going to initiate this clearance operation, September 11th. Great day to start. So we had moved across the Helmand River, and we had staged, and we were getting ready for our next leg, which was when we were going to initiate the clearance of the first village. Mm-hmm. And we had taken, just tons of fire from this area, and it's like, okay, there's going to be some bad guys here. So yeah, it's late night, September 11th. We push off, turns into September 12th, and we're moving up to this. We had broken up into different clearance teams, and so to kind of tackle the village in different ways, kind of like an L shape, and clear that trench, because that trench was a bad area. So my team. We were responsible for the first 3 compounds, and moving up, there was, nobody was there. I mean, it's 3:00 in the morning, so who's going to be there? But dead quiet, nothing. It's like, oh, this is bad. So we start moving up to the first set of compounds. And I told our interpreter, Nick, I said, hey, man, you need to, let's get our Afghans inside this first compound, and we'll start our clearance, compound by compound, how it always works. And so Nick, our terp, he relayed the information, and I'm thinking things are about ready to get going. This is going to be good. And I turned around, and the Afghans, they won't move. I said, hey, Nick, what's the problem, man? Tell them to get in that compound. So he tells them again. They say something back and forth, and he goes, "Hey Ryan, they said they won't go." I said, "They won't go? Like, what do you talk about? This they have to, right? Right? Everyone has to? No,
right?"
And he's like, "They said it's too dangerous. They said they won't go." It's like, oh man, this is not the way this was all drawn out.
Yeah.
And so and our rehearsals and everything like that. So, I turned around to tell the other American that was with me, because it was 2 Americans for like every 8 or 9 Afghans in a clearance element. Mm-hmm. And I turned around to tell him, and he's like, well, hey man, I need you to go tell Nick to get away from that door. And, I say door, but it's like it was an entryway with a bunch of sticks up against it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I turned back around and Nick had ran 15 meters down towards the first compound, and he's trying to mess around with the door a little bit, or the breach point, to try and coax these guys hey, look, I'm down here. It's safe. Come on down. And I was like, oh, crap, that's not cleared. And we'd already seen in our past, we've seen animals step on IEDs in these areas. And it's like, holy cow, from our Overwatch positions, in the, past months when we were getting atmospherics on the valley. And so I start moving down to where Nick's at, and I grab a hold of him and say, hey, man, wrong answer, bro. Because if you lose your terp, you can't communicate. And if you can't communicate, we already have a bunch of guys that are saying they won't do it. So what are they going to do? They could leave.
Yeah.
Or worse, you never know.
And then there's just a few of you guys.
Yeah, communication breakdown's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I grab a hold of him. I was like, no, we need to go back. We need to regroup. Grab him, and I pull him out of the doorway. And because you never have your side or your back or anything exposed to the unknown, I had kind of pivoted back around, so my M4, at least my M4, was pointing inside the breach point there. So if anybody decided to run out and start shooting it, I wasn't getting shot in the back. I was able to, to return fire and hopefully just get shot in the front plates. And so I started moving back, and I would look back to see where I was stepping, and then just this huge flash of light and this blast that, I mean, it seems really loud on TV when you're watching stuff like that, but when it actually happens to you, because it damages your ears so much, it wasn't really that loud.
Yeah.
But apparently it rocked the whole valley.
Wow.
And that pretty much, yeah. And I didn't even know I had stepped on the IED at first. I thought Nick hit it, or I thought maybe we took an RPG, or, I mean, your brain can't comprehend what's going on. So I had no idea. And so I don't know. The only thing I know is I can't breathe, because the amount of dust and the ammonia from the HME and everything, I can't breathe. I remember thinking, if I don't breathe, I'm going to suffocate. So I was trying to do these small little breaths, and at the same time, I kept trying to get up, but I couldn't. So I'd get up and fall over, get up and fall over. So now I'm getting pissed because, why can't I get up? Am I stuck on something? But you can't see anything. And the sun is the sky is turned light. The sun hasn't come up yet, but the sky has turned light. So now, there's some visibility out there. And I remember as the dust started to clear a little bit, I was like, okay, what is going on? And I saw my boot, and it was kind of away from my body. And I was thinking, I remember I was thinking, I was like, wow, when did I take my boot off? I don't remember trying to, because your mind can't comprehend. Yeah. That's just, believe it or not, for any listener out there, it's not natural to step on an IED.
Yeah.
So your mind can't comprehend it. And I was like, man, what is going on with my boot? And so I remember I wanted to get a better look. So I grabbed behind my knee and I lifted my leg up, and my boot flopped off to the side to where basically my toes almost hit me in my ass.
Oh shit.
And that's when, and then I saw my tib and my fib sticking out of my pant legs, and they were just pearly white bones. I couldn't even recognize what they were. And then that's when I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is really bad. I'm hit, and goes from there. So
how many seconds was all this taking place before the medic and your other teammates finally figured out that the IED was you and you're still alive and getting to you? I mean, I imagine all this was milliseconds, all these thoughts that you just kind of ran through.
Yes and no. So I remember I felt like I was laying there for hours, but I was actually laying there for minutes. And minutes is a very long time.
It is, yeah.
And so the other American that was with me, he and rightfully so, he knew not to come running after me because there's IEDs everywhere.
Yeah.
Where there's one, there's five. That's the saying we have, but it's the truth.
Yep.
And so, he starts getting the Afghans to start clearing towards me. Well, one of the Afghans, he was close to me already, so he starts trying to put my tourniquet on, and I just remember, like, my the other American that was with me is, yelling at me, "Don't move, Ryan." I was like, "Where do you think I'm gonna go? I'm not
Right.
I'm not gonna go anywhere." And I'm just laying there, but yeah, it was the most helpless feeling in the world. Like, I remember looking back one time, and they were still so far away, like 15 meters is a long ways.
That's a long damn ways.
And I remember looking back, and I was like, I'm gonna die here today. Like, this, wow, because everything just happened.
Yeah.
And you can't, I mean, people are like, but the will to live and stuff like that, and that's great and all, and I understand that, but there's also, you have conflicting battles in your head. Is like, wow, I yeah, I'm probably gonna die here today, right along the Helmand River in this shithole village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it occurred to me, as, geez, this is not really how I saw it going.
How much did you end up bleeding out?
So actually, believe it or not, I only needed 2 blood transfusions. So I didn't bleed out too terribly much because the blast had, I guess, cauterized.
Yeah, cauterized. Yeah, the arteries. Yeah. Wow.
Some of it, but I went into a pretty bad shock, and I didn't realize shock can kill you. Because as I remember looking back, and I was like, yeah, this is all right, man. I mean, I guess, what's that light everyone says? I'm waiting,
Right.
trying to see what this light is, and God's hand reaching down, like, come on up, or something like that. I'm just like, what happens now? What happens now? And then I'm just going to go to sleep. And so I tried to go to sleep, and then that's when the first American got to me. His name was George, and he just slapped the crap out of me. And I was, man, quit slapping me. I'm just tired. I just want to go to sleep. Just let me go to sleep. And nope, don't go to sleep, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, but yeah, it's about, I don't know. It felt like forever, and I wasn't running a stopwatch, but it was like over 3 minutes before the first American. Yeah.
And how long was it before you guys could get to a position where you could get exfilled out?
Yeah. See, that was the bad part. So we were trying to get we were trying to get a medevac in. The problem was the Taliban had knew what happened, and so, because they were cheering over ICOM radio, you know how we monitor their FM freaks. Well, they were cheering, and then, hey, put in an ambush, and blah blah blah, all the stuff that you're supposed to do in war. It's like, all right, good for them. But because of the amount of IEDs in the area, no air crew could land right there. It's like, hey man, you could lose one guy, or you can lose an entire air crew. Like, what's it gonna be? So, all right, so we got to pick this dude up, and we got to move him. And it was like 500 meters to get me to a place that we could. Yeah, it sucked. All by fireman's carry, and I don't care who you are. Fireman's carry is painful when your legs, like, blown off.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because he's moving, and you're dangling. You know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Just the visualization of that.
Yeah, because they had ace wrapped my leg up real good. They put in a splint, just ace wrapped the crap out of it, and it's like, all right, we got to go. They can unmess all of this up at the first, roll 3 or whatever it was that I was gonna get flown into. But it's time to move. We're not trying to get in a firefight right here, because we were also on the low ground. So if the Taliban came up over the hill, it was game on.
How long did it end up taking you guys to get out the 500 meters then?
I can't. I'm not exactly sure. I just know that it was probably a little over an hour from when I got blown up to when I was on a bird, heading out of the Helmand. So
wow.
Yeah, it's long.
They take you back to a fire base?
Yeah. So I went to Taran Kout, or TK, and that was the first like medical stop I had, whereas, hey, this dude's shock and all this other stuff, allergic reaction to morphine, and it's like, yeah, we need to do surgery now. And I remember hearing one of the nurses say, like, hey, he's, we need to get him in now. He doesn't look good. He may not make it. And I was like, if I can hear all this, there's no way they're talking about me.
Yeah.
And so I still don't know. And again, I had talked to a nurse that was there years later, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you flatlined on the table." And
shit.
my buddy, the Delta who was with us, he had wrote a note that said, if you're reading this, you made it, and I was like, wow, it was something, and so I didn't realize basically what shock could really do to you.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like, the guy died of blood loss or whatnot, but I just don't. Yeah, it was weird. But who knows?
How long did it take before you finally came out of shock, and then did they take you right into surgery, or was it,
they were cutting clothes off the minute the minute they were hauling me off the helicopter, they were cutting clothes off and taking vitals and all this other stuff, and it was basically like, hey, that's what I heard. The nurse, she's like, hey, he doesn't look good. We need to go now, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know. Maybe I've watched too many war movies and I just made it up. I have no idea, but
yeah.
I had met a nurse that said, yeah, I was in real bad shape. She had reached out to me, from the book. And it's like, yeah, I was one of your nurses there. It's like, can you fill in some blanks for me? And she goes, oh no, you were bad. You flatlined. It's like, huh. Wow. I didn't realize it was that bad, but I don't know.
So how long were you there before you end up, I guess you end up headed to Landstuhl after that, or?
So I jumped around Afghanistan a bit, just them trying to stabilize me to fly.
Yeah.
To Germany, but I was in TK for a couple days, and then I want to say I went to CAF and then BAF and then Germany. But yeah, it was from when I got blown up to when I left Afghanistan. It was well over 6 days, and that's a long time for getting hit. So.
Yeah. So when you got to Germany, is that when you first found out that the family knew, that they'd notified them, or when was it that you found that
out? No, that was in, I think it was in Germany. I'm pretty sure it was. 'Cause I remember that was the first time I had called my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife. But yeah, because I remember Red Cross had said that I was killed in action. And so, obviously you can understand, my dad and everything, like, what? And then it was immediate. Then, my dad had told me, like, pretty quick after, they're like, oh, no, sorry, your son's in Germany. Our bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Really?
Kind of thing. And it's like, my dad's, well, everybody makes mistakes. Okay. But yeah, it was in Germany when I found out that my family knew. And then, and a lot of my friends that were getting blown up and whatnot like that, they were all going to Brooks Army Medical Center. So, they asked me, where I wanted to go. And I wanted to go to Brooks Army Medical Center and be with my friends.
Yeah. So you end up getting there. And I think that was the first time then that your family's got a chance to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Dad shows up and he looks at my leg and he's just like, well, figured if you messed around with fire enough, you'd get burnt. And he just went and sat down. That's really all he said.
There was a period there though that I think your dad kind of gave you a hard life lesson and spoke to you kind of from the heart, but also being just real. And I think it's a really solid message, for everybody, for that matter.
Yeah, I had gone through some pretty deep lows. As far as, I mean, you got to think the cocktail of meds you're on, methadone alone, it turns your brain into something that you can't even recognize. But yeah, I was going through, a pretty big phase of, why did this happen to me? Poor me. I let my team down, I let everybody down. It's, I'm stupid. Why did this, And so I was starting to turn into a victim of, something that, it's just, I mean, shit happens, especially on the battlefield. So I was starting to take on this like this victim mentality. And I remember my dad saying, basically like, hey, now's the best time. There's no better time than now to have this conversation because I see you're struggling. And he said, I realize you're in a lot of pain, and I realize the thoughts that are going around in your head. He said, but you have to understand something. It's this injury. You'll overcome this injury one day, and it's how you handle it right now. It's how you deal with this is gonna make the difference between you looking back and being proud of how you handled that life-changing incident, or being ashamed of how you handled it. And he said, the way I see it is you have two options. Your first option is you can become this injury. You can make this injury you. You can this injury will take you over, and you can head down that path. It's a lonely path, but you can become a victim of this, and no one's going to blame you for that. But it's you're going to be pushing people away. It's a dark path because you've become a victim of circumstances.
Yep.
He said, or you can use this injury to make yourself a better man. You can use this injury, to renew your relationship with God. You can use this injury to make yourself that man that builds up people around him instead of tears them down. You can use this injury to be that guy that you're laying in bed right now wishing you would have done this, this, and this. Well, you can do all that. You got handed the reset button. Most men in life, they don't get the reset button. And you got it. And now, it's what you do with it right now. That's this critical point is going to determine the rest of your life. And he said, I highly recommend you don't take the victim role out of this. It's hard to do because becoming a victim is extremely easy. That's the reason why it's such a problem today. Manning up and taking responsibility for your actions and understanding that life is not easy. Life is extremely hard. And in life, there's times life will beat you down. Understanding all that and actually taking responsibility for yourself and owning yourself, not letting life own you. That was all in the balance there that day. And I just, it was hard for me, and becoming a victim is a lot easier than taking control because there was no one, I wanted to point the finger at all kinds of stuff and blame game and poor me and all this stuff because that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, just understand stuff happens. Life's hard. You are never guaranteed an easy life because that's bullshit.
Yep.
And but this will make you a stronger man if you let it. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wrote the book is because, I do see some of the issues we're dealing with today. And I do see people, the easy button is to be that victim. It's to be that, oh, well, this happened to me, so I'm this way. Or I grew up like this, so I'm this way. Instead of just understanding, hey, life can be hard, man. But own it and make it night.
You think about when somebody goes through a period of adversity or they lose a loved one or whatever, there's a period of different emotions that overtake you, and you're right. I think one of those is, you start looking outwardly and at other people to blame. You start then psychoanalyzing everything of what you could have done. You go into depression. There's so many different phases that you end up going into. And that's why I said the lesson, I kind of led off that way. The lesson or the thing, the speech that your dad gave you that day is actually a very good one, like you said, that should be used in many things that we do in life. We should approach that same thing. Okay, well, you're actually given a choice in everything you do. You're at a crossroads. You can take path A or you can take path B. Each of those are then going to have another path A or path B. You're not on a dead set path.
I battle with it all the time.
Yeah. And you're going to continue doing that because that's life. And as you start getting older, that's where people say you have wisdom. Well, it's because you're able to reach back and look and say, well, listen, I made a lot of damn mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
And I can't look at, well, if I'd have chose a different path, because you know what? I may have fought many different obstacles going that path as well. And maybe worse. You just don't know. It's the what if. And that's the problem, is a lot of people either live with the guilt and the what if, or they live in the mentality of, like you said, the victim mentality, where they're wanting to blame somebody else for their own issues.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it, a lot of what I see happening and was happening to me as I was trying to recover from this, was I started to become entitled, and entitlement leads to victimization many times, because it's like, well, this happened to me, so you owe me, or I deserve, or something like that. And it's like, again, you got to get yourself in check, because nobody owes you anything, and you don't deserve anything.
Yeah.
And we've become a culture of, oh, this special guy, everybody gets a trophy. And it's like, no, you don't. And you're not that special. You may be mom's little special helper, but guess what? In life, you're just another person, just like I am, just like all your athletes and movie stars are. You're not special. You're just you're just in the rat race with us in life,
Yeah.
And the big thing about it is people, I was starting to fall victim of entitlement, and entitlement leads into victimization. And it's, well, this happened to me, so poor me, I'm allowed to feel this way. No, you're not. Get over it. Move on with life. And that was basically the speech, is life doesn't owe you anything. What did you think? And I remember my dad saying, he goes, son, what did you think was going to happen? You're an 18 Charlie in Special Forces in Afghanistan. Like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a very, very good point.
How long did it take all this to sink in? I mean, when he was throwing this at you, first off, I got chills with what you were saying, with what your dad shared with you and stuff, because it's almost one of those, motivational speeches in a halftime football game type of thing.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling down, you're down 21 points against the other team. And so did it resonate quickly, or was it something that took you a period of time after he left or something like that before it all sunk in?
No, it took a long time, because the drugs, all those drugs that numb the pain and everything like that, it doesn't allow too much to sink in. Yeah. But enough of it sank into where I made up my mind that, I was going to do everything in my power to own this situation, and me owning it was getting back on active duty and going back to war. That was my way of owning it. But I had a few things to do first, like learn how to walk again, and simple stuff like that. But
yeah, that's simple stuff. Well, you had a pretty interesting procedure as well, right? Wasn't it something that's a little bit different than the norm?
Yeah. So when I got blown up, it was a pretty good time to get blown up if you're going to do it. And they were a lot of medical research going into this new program called limb salvage. And so basically, with limb salvage, it's people who were just right off the bat like, can't do anything with it, cut it off. Now they were starting to look at other alternative methods other than just going straight underneath the knife and cutting your leg off and you got a prosthetic. And they had this new device out called an IDEO, and it's inner something blah blah blah. It's really, I don't know, it's a big name, but this guy named Ryan Blahnik, he invented the IDEO, and it was given orthopedic surgeons like my orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Shu. It was giving them other options rather than just cutting. And so when I got there, my leg was the worst that they had so far, but I had enough good tissue to where they basically said, hey man, this is going to help us out a lot. We're going to, if you want, and I had to sign for this, because I could have just kept it amputated.
Right.
But they said, we're going to do an exploratory surgery, and we're going to, do the limb salvage process with you. And if this works, your leg is going to be an extreme advancement in limb salvage, and it's going to help out lots of people, soldiers, car wreck victims, all kinds of stuff, just with the technology that's going to come from this limb salvage. And so it's like, yeah, because basically they reattached my leg.
Wow.
So I said, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a challenge, and yeah, I'm game. So yeah, I went into the limb salvage program, and yeah, it definitely paved the way for some people that otherwise it just would have been, cut off immediately.
So explain this to, for the people who are not familiar with this, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not. So, and it's probably something I should have done some research on, but is this like your leg everything is back together again, or is it still a prosthetic? How much of it is a prosthetic? That type of thing.
So basically what the process was they were going to, between all the debridement surgeries and everything like that, basically, so I had 28 surgeries to reattach my right leg.
Holy jeez.
And so basically what they do is, I had metal rods screwed into my tibia, above and below the blast, because the blast went up through my foot and exited out at my calf. So it was a pretty clean cut, which was impressive, because a lot of times when you step on an homemade explosive device, it's such like dirty HME that it just mangled just like a meat grinder to your leg, and there's nothing to salvage. Well, what I stepped on was such high quality HME that the blast wave went straight up through my foot, blew my foot in half, and exited at my calf. And so it left, what was a lot of damage to me, but in the orthopedic world, it wasn't that much tissue damage to where they couldn't, it wasn't a fighting chance to salvage my leg. And so I had bolts going into all my bones, rods going through all my toes, rods coming in the back of my heel, everything to to stabilize my foot again to where my foot could, heal, because it was blown in half. And then my tibia, they basically just lined up my tib between the bottom and the top, and there was a gap there. And then they cranked everything down with these halo devices that go into, that the rod's all attached to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically, all right, the only thing that makes bone grow quickly is friction. So once I was cleared to start actual physical therapy, the name of the game was just to pound the crap out of it, just to grow bone, and just PT, work out as hard as I could.
Holy crap. That sounds painful.
Oh, yeah. It was the most painful thing I've ever done in my life. Ever.
God.
Yeah.
How long was your total treatment to get everything? I understand that it was a lot faster for you. You had a pretty quick recovery, but, what was the average time that they told you, and how long was it that you actually took?
I should have been there about 2 to 3 years, going, for everything with my leg. And then also, as far as my activity level goes, I shouldn't have been at that level, maybe never again in my life. But I got blown up September 12th of 2010, and I went back to 7th group in November 2011, and that was after I got medically retired, and I fought back on active duty through a waiver process. I grew back 2 inches of tibula or whatever it was. I just went balls to the wall. Basically, the only way I could really say it is because, I had, my sergeant major came and saw me early on when I got blown up, and through, he basically said, hey, I'll make you a promise. If you get medically cleared, I'll send you back to war. It's basically how the conversation went. Mm-hmm. And, him and I, we're real good friends today, but I don't think anyone thought that was going to happen, because I had plenty of people, tell me like, hey man, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're out here doing all of this because, you're trying to go back to Afghanistan. But when that doesn't happen, because it's not going to happen, you're going to be so depressed that now we're going to have to worry about your mental state of mind
Sure.
because you are putting everything on this. And I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. But he had told me that, and that was what my goal was, is I was going back to Afghanistan.
What was it like walking back into the team, seeing your former teammates, and more importantly, what was it that perhaps you thought went through their head, because was there an opportunity, or did you hear later guys wondering, are you really going to be on an ODA? Are you going to be able to really? Yeah.
There was, so coming back, everybody did, like the normal, hey, welcome back. And you know how group guys are, it's very, very brutal to each other, whatnot. But yeah, everybody, hey, glad you're back and whatnot. It's, okay, cool. Well, at that point in time, my company had left for Afghanistan. So they're out, they're heading back to Afghanistan in 2012. And I was supposed to stay back at Eglin because I'm non-deployable.
Yeah.
I could sit in a desk.
Rear detachment commander.
Yeah, I can't wear body armor. I can't have military boots on for longer than it was a huge profile, a dead man's profile.
Yeah.
And so basically, okay, and there was this program in 7th group called the Thor 3 program, and it was basically our return to war program. And so that's what, if you get hurt in a motorcycle accident or static line jump accident or something like that, this is what you go through to get cleared to go back to your team. And I was like, well, I kind of got hurt, so I'm going to do this program and get cleared. And so I went and started up the program, and it was tough, but I was out doing, I was destroying guys that had never been hurt. And so they couldn't deny that. And so I got the 7th group wrote a waiver to override the Big Army's non-deployable status. They wrote a waiver saying, hey, he can deploy, we'll take responsibility. And I was on a bird in March 2012 heading back to Afghanistan.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I showed up there, and my sergeant major came up. He's like, wow, okay. So, and that's when, he's basically, well, I said I'd send you back to war, and he did. He sent me to the most IED'd area in Afghanistan at that time, which was Panjwai district of Kandahar province.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Holy cow. So how was it going back? Sure, you want to get back into the fight and everything, but it's another thing to have the reality of, oh my God, this could be part 2. This could happen all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, the reality was, so there was a couple of things I had to come to reality with. Number one is when I actually showed up, the team was not happy I was there because I was a liability.
Yeah,
They knew what happened, and I completely understand that. And so now the process of proving myself to them, it was, again, new guy all over again.
Yeah.
Just like, holy cow. And so, yeah, that was a rough go for a while, but I understood it. I knew why the team was that way because I was a liability until I had proved myself. But that first mission we went out on, we were coming up to a break in the wall, and everybody knows, Taliban, they IED the access points or the easiest path or the path of least resistance. They IED those because Afghan military, they take the path of least resistance. They don't climb over the 12-foot walls and scale through trenches and stuff like that. They just walk down the path.
Mm-hmm.
And we came up to a break in the wall, and I hit it with my mine detector, and I got the positive, and I was like, uh-oh. And so I, started uncovering, got a portion of the pressure plate, and I was like, oh, crap. This is like, I got to actually face one. And so I, first mission, within the first hour, I uncovered my first IED since almost losing my life to one.
Wow. But that also had to be, I would imagine, a moment in which, because you're facing it, mm-hmm. Any doubt, any fear or whatever could then immediately escape, leave, and be like, all right, I'm good now. I've come face to face once again with death.
Yeah.
And this time I won.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of did some dumb stuff. Whereas when I got a hold of the pressure plate, I wanted to dominate this IED. And so I did. I pulled, my job is not to interrogate IEDs. It's to find, fix, and then destroy it.
Right.
And we call it blow in place. And it's not to EOD it, but I pulled the pressure plate and then pulled the jug and everything. I got a corner of the pressure plate. Like, yep, that's a pressure plate. Got the yellow packaging tape they use. And then I traced one of the cords over. Yep, there's the battery pack. Got the battery pack, or what you think is the battery pack.
Right.
That's the scary part.
Right.
And then I connected some surgical clamps to the wires and pulled it out with a 550 cord from about 50 feet back. Then I went and attached it in the jug and pulled it out. And the team was just like, "What are you doing?"
I was gonna say, there's like so many things here that could have gone wrong.
Oh yeah. But I wanted that one underneath my belt.
Oh sure.
I wanted to completely just interrogate one from top to bottom. That was me. And yeah, stupid move. Oh yeah, 100%. If I could go back in time, I would just put half a buck of C4 there and walk away. Easy.
So 4 years later, we're going to fast forward to a time period where this is real, where really the kind of the shit hits the fan. And at that point, you guys are basically get caught in an ambush, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah.
Then they're talking about when to take you specifically out.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2012 trip went, and then I did some down South Central America trips, and then 2016 back to Afghanistan. And I found myself, I was running this group of Afghans called the National Mine Reduction Group, or the NMRG. And so we're the guys in the very front clearing IEDs for the main element because it's a clearance operation. And you're not fast roping down on the buildings and stuff like that. This is a village clearance. And so we get pegged to head to Baghlan province for a substantial clearance operation. And so everything goes off as it's supposed to. We infill with we're in Afghan Humvees because we didn't want the Taliban knowing that Americans were there quite yet. And so we're dismounted, and I'm the most forward American in the element, and so I have an IR strobe on my helmet, like you're supposed to. And so, or some people use the Fireflies or whatever.
Right.
But I had this old brick IR strobe, and we're moving up, and our first compound of interest that we're going to clear is, through this orchard. And it's 1:00 in the morning, and anybody who knows anything about Afghanistan, orchards are really bad areas because they booby trap the crap out of them. They have caches all over them, and that's where usually their tunnel systems and whatnot. So we get the word, hey, clearance element, go up, start clearing through the orchard. So okay, so we start moving through the orchard, and we had gone about 25 meters when I heard this loud pop. And so everybody hits the deck, kind of like you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to figure out what in the hell just happened. Well, at the same time, I'm caught up in some stuff. And so is the Afghan in front of me. He's all caught up and he's like, what is going on here? And it turns out that we had hit a tripwire IED that they had put at chest level.
And it didn't detonate.
No, it low ordered, and so the blasting cap went off, but the IED didn't go off.
Man,
yeah. I mean,
you got the Grim Reaper walking right next to you. Damn.
Oh no, I've stepped on, or I've initiated 1, 2, 3. I've initiated 4 IEDs. Just one of them went off, and the one of them I stepped on, it only partially went off.
Yeah.
It was a 25-pound IED, but only one cell went off. That saved my life.
Wow.
But I'm apparently not a good 18 Charlie because I've hit 4 IEDs and three of them low ordered. But we had we'd stumbled into this tripwire IED. It's okay, so we pick ourselves up. Holy cow, man! Like now my senses are going nuts because if there's a tripwire IED, it's oh geez. And so we start moving forward again, and it's it's a little after 1 a.m. and in the distance, the compound of interest, I could see movement. It's like there's nobody here but bad guys. Like there are no civilians, and we were told that. It's like uh-oh. So we start moving up a couple steps more, and I see this guy. He runs from one side to the other, and so I get my M4 up, and that's when the PKM opened up. I opened up, and it ended up being the PKM opened up on us from 17 meters away from my position.
Ooh.
So we hit the ground, again like you're supposed to, and the entire side of the compound, the entire mud hut wall of the compound just lit up in fire from all the muzzle flashes coming out. And so the PKM had hit us, and now the Taliban had got us in an L-shaped ambush. And so my element was cut off from the main element. And so we're that kind of firepower, I've never had that much sustained firepower on me at that close of a distance ever before. So, I got adrenaline's running, I'm scared, and this guy keeps shooting RPGs at us, but he can't quite locate our position. And so about the third time he jumped out, he just happened to jump out directly, about 20 meters away from right where my barrel of my weapon system was at. And I remember getting a bead on him, and I put like 15 rounds, and he dropped. So I was like, okay, all right, let's keep going. So we still can't move. They can't call in an airstrike at this time because we're danger close. We're 17 meters from the PKM.
Yeah.
Well, then, we get the call over the radio that the Taliban, they're targeting the guy with the flashing helmet. It's like, well, this is an IR strobe. How do you know it's flashing? It's because they got night vision. Like, crap. So there's a couple of their guys that have night vision. So I take the strobe off my helmet, and I throw it as close as I can get to where the PKM had opened up on us at. And I was just like, hey, I don't know what to do, but the PKM's over there. So finally, the JTACs, they get authorized for, I don't even think you can call it danger close. It's basically dropping on your position.
Yeah.
Because it was like, if we don't, he's dead. And they'll capture him. Like, we have to drop now. And so I just remember he came over the radio, and at this time he told us, get low and just hold on, man. And I remember, so I told the Afghans up there, I was screaming at them like, get low in the ditch, get low in the ditch. And I was in the middle of the road. So I'm trying to get as low as I can. So we stopped firing at the enemy, which increases their rate of fire on us. So rounds are coming in like crazy. And I was like, holy cow, man.
How many seconds longer? Yeah. Oh my God.
Please drop. And then we heard that fast mover overhead, and JTAC came over the radio one more time. He said, Ryan, bombs away. And is boom.
500 pounds.
Yeah, and it felt, I never felt anything like that before. The
concussion had to be like crazy.
Oh yeah, I remember I had clear liquid running out of my ears. I kept trying to stand up, and I'd fall over, stand up, and because you're trying to run, but your body can't do, or your brain won't allow your body to do what you're trying to do because it just got absolutely destroyed by that impact. Because I remember when it hit, I was thinking like, crap, like this building, the mud hut, the mud compound walls, they may come down on us and crush us.
Oh yeah.
No, it was, I mean, we got hit with branches and dirt and gravel and stuff like that, but no real big chunks. And it was just like, holy cow, man. So I'm grabbing my guys, and we're tripping and falling and kind of trying to get back to the main element so we can drop another bomb. We hit them with the second airstrike, and then it's like, okay, let's go clear the compound. And I remember the captain walked up to me and he goes, dude, are you good? And it just sounded like everything was in an echo, like a hallway. And I was, yeah, man, I guess I'm good. And that started the village clearance. But that wouldn't be the last time that we would have to duke it out with the Taliban that day.
There was a 5-hour firefight, I think, is what it ended up being, right?
Yeah, so that initial tick in the morning happened, and then as we'd successfully cleared through the village, we had blown up so many IEDs. Like, I ran out of C4. We were just having to mark them and bypass them because there was just so many IEDs and 107 rockets and everything else in this area. It's the biggest hornet's nest I've ever been into, ever. And so we had reached our limit of advance, our LOA. It's like, okay, hey, it's time to withdraw. Well, there's a problem. The Afghans, they don't want to hold the ground we just fought for. They say, well, we're not staying here. You guys stay here. They said, this is a really dangerous place. We can't stay here. It's like, since the beginning of war, the ground that you conquer, you usually hold.
Right.
It's like, well, we're not staying here. Like, okay, all right. Well, that's not really what the plan was. Well, at this same time, one of the Afghan sergeant majors with the commandos, he came up to me with a terp and he's like, hey man, we have a bunch of people. I don't know if they're men, women, but there's a lot of people moving this way, like 15 to 20 of them. It's like, okay, are they villagers? He goes, I don't know, but I don't think so. Not for out here. It's like, crap. And then, so this conversation is still ensuing, with our leadership to try and get them to stay. At that point in time, I told Team Sergeant, like, hey man, we got to go, dude. Like, they're telling me dudes are rolling in right now. We got to get out of here now. And, that Afghan came back up to me and he goes, hey, what do you want to do? And I had turned to the Team Sergeant and said, hey man, we need to leave. He said, okay, yeah, let's, no longer. It didn't take him any longer to say, like, yeah, let's start the withdrawal. Then it just, everything lit up.
All hell broke loose. Yeah.
All hell broke loose. It was, between PKMs, RPGs, 82 millimeter mortar rounds, AK-47s, sniper rounds, everything else. It was insane. So we all scatter for ditches, because you're getting cover. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking up the road. I was in a ditch behind a small little wall, and I remember looking up the road, and it looked like 1,000 horses were running down this dirt road. That much dust was being kicked up from all the rounds coming down.
Holy cow!
And so finally after, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, the rate of fire, dies down and they quit engaging all their, they're indiscriminately engaging, and now they're pinpointing targets. But I remember looking up the road and there's a body in the road, and it's like, okay. And then about 10 meters from me on the other side of the ditch, this Taliban PKM gunner had pinned in on 3 Afghans that were caught in this ditch, and they couldn't get out. And he was walking rounds in on them, just dumping 7.62. And I'm not really sure, I kept trying to get them to sprint over my way. They wouldn't do it. So I jumped out of behind the ditch I was in, sprinted, up the road, grabbed the first thing I could grab, which was this dude's hair, yanked him out, hoping to God the other 3 would come. And we sprinted back and not one of us got hit. And it was just,
wow, miracle.
It was just zips and cracks and everything, mud hut wall splintering off and stuff just from the rounds coming in. But we were able to pull those dudes back to our position. And then, we get the heart stopping call over the radio, Eagle down. And it's like, okay, we have an American down. Is he dead? Is he wounded? We don't know. And then another Eagle down. It's like, oh crap, man, this is getting bad. And then the Afghan wounded starts pouring in, and you got, dudes are bleeding everywhere and whatnot. Well, we're still stuck in this ditch. We have sniper fire, sporadic PKM fire, and then we hear the dreaded thump of a mortar round coming in. And it's like you can hear it leaving the tube. It's, oh God. And this mortar round came in and hits 30 meters from our position. So, all right, bracketing time.
Yeah, he's going to start dialing it in. Yep.
I'm going to hit 30 meters back. I'll hit probably 15 meters in front of you, and then I'm going to split the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so then another one comes in. It's like, all right, that third one, he's going to split the difference. We need to go. And so, yeah, we yanked up the Afghans that were with us, the wounded, whatnot, and we started heading to the first place that we had established as a casualty collection point, or a CCP. And it's like, okay, we got a CCP. Let's start treating the wounded. And I mean, there's a lot of people are coming in. And so we've got, we have Afghan commandos that are, on all the stretchers, everything like that. And dudes are wounded. Americans they're getting bandaged up. And then rounds start to impact inside the CCP.
Oh.
Well, what was going on was this entire village was a network of tunnels. And so they were popping up out of tunnels and able to get to their pre-positioned fighting areas and engage us from there. So, okay, well, this entire time we still haven't had bombs on target because the aircraft can't distinguish between them and us. There were no lines. It was like they're in your lines, and that's a really bad thing. Mm-hmm. And so we finally were able to get some separation, and that first bomb comes in and it lowers this 2-story tall structure that had a sniper in it. So the sniper's down, but we still need to move. So we had located another place for a CCP, and we start carrying the wounded over there and a couple of the bodies, and we're heading over to this new CCP, and it has a large field out in the back, so you can get helicopters in and whatnot. And now the bombs are starting to drop, and it's like, okay, good deal. We got air on target. We got air overhead. We're starting to break their back, or we thought. Mm-hmm. And okay, good. So we got everybody. Finally, it's like, all right, hey, do the head count. We need to get out of here now. We just need to let the Air Force just lay waste to this place. We need to leave. There's no civilians in the area, so collateral damage. Hey, it is what it is. And so we start going through men, weapon, and equipment. Well, we have men that are missing on the battlefield. So we're missing, at that point in time, I think 5 Afghans. And 2 of the guys were actually my NMRG guys. So it's like, okay, this is bad because, we got to go get them. Nobody gets left behind. So we start moving into, retracing kind of where we were at, staying away from the bulk of the enemy fighters. And it's like, okay, we got 1. Here's a body. Got him. Okay. Here's another body. Okay, got him. Good. We got 2. We're still missing 3. Okay, hey, we got Bezmula. He was my NMRG guy. Okay, we got him. All right, good to go. We're missing 2 guys. It's like, where are they? It's like, I don't know. And one of the guys we were missing, his name's Abe, and he was the NMRG commander. Him and I had known each other for a long time. And so the last place I saw him was when we were up in the very front, and I told our team sergeant, hey, I'm going to start getting the guys ready to withdraw. I'll get my NMRG guys, and we're gonna start doing the order of movement. And then all hell broke loose. But that was the last place I saw him. And so it's like, it's all the way back up this road that we just came from that looked like 1,000 horses running down it.
Yeah.
And there's still rounds coming down it. But we had dropped on the mortar tube, which was a good thing. And there was, the RPG, he was pesky, but he had his head down. We had air overhead. Well, the problem is we were going back into basically the fatal funnel. And so one of the JTACs, he came up, he's like, hey man, I got a plan. And again, the reason why combat controllers, man, they're awesome.
Yeah.
But he's like, I got a plan. We're gonna do Apache gun runs, and we're basically, as these Apaches start their movement down this road and just 30 Mike everywhere, we're gonna take off sprinting behind them. It's like, man, what movie did you watch this on? Yeah, but that was the plan. And so
you laid down basically suppressive fire with 30 Mikes coming from an Apache, and you're running back behind it as they're doing their strafes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Apaches came in, and it was almost like, we were waiting on a race, and it's like, hold. All right, let's go. And we just took off running down the road. And we got to the initial point of contact, and I looked in the ditch, and
You
there
found Abe.
Abe, yeah, Abe was dead, and then the one missing commando, he was still up there, and they were both KIA, and so yeah, we had to get those guys out of there. We were still taking pop shots, but the Apaches were doing a very good job,
Yeah.
and we got Abe and the other commando back, and we had 100% on men, which is the most important. And yeah, so we American soldiers, they'll go to the ends of the earth and back to make sure that everybody leaves that battlefield, whether you're dead or alive. And we proved it that day because we brought home our Afghan counterparts.
Yeah, no doubt. And during this time, you earned, I guess, the Silver Star.
Yes.
Yeah. So for your actions and everything, and I mean that's like you said, that's right out of a movie which you just described there. I mean, if you couldn't have produced that any better. How was it that the American Apaches knew you guys as you guys were running back or heading back to the CCP and stuff? I mean, how were they able to distinguish you guys from the enemy?
Because our JTAC's a stud.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's just crazy. And these guys, your enemy, were underneath tunnels and everything, and that's how they were able to keep movement. Is they were going through the tunnels, popping themselves up, basically locating you, popping back down, moving through the tunnels, and following you along the whole path.
Yeah, and they almost shot down a Black Hawk too. It had to leave. It left the area smoking, like on fire. It's like, oh man, that I seen a movie about this, and it's very bad.
Yeah. We didn't want to have that happen again. So you wrote the book Tip of the Spear to really cover everything that we just talked about and some other stuff as well. But what were some of the things that you really wanted individuals to take away after reading the book? I mean, because I know that there was more to this that you really wanted individuals as key points to really take away. Some of that we already discussed a little bit earlier, but what were some of the other things, especially to our veteran community?
So, writing the book, I didn't sit down and say, I'm going to write a book.
Right.
What it ended up happening was, I was having some issues coming back, especially in 2016. And then I went back to Afghanistan in 2017, then 2018, and then, 2020. And so basically I was just dealing with a lot. And, I remember talking with one of our chaplains. It's, basically, hey, I don't really know how to get all this out there. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I said, it feels like it's just built up on my chest, and I just need to, like, how do you put it somewhere else? And he's like, have you ever thought about writing? It's like, well, no. And he goes, yeah, man, it's writing therapy. You're taking it from your chest and you're putting it on a Word document, so you don't ever really lose it. It's still there, but you're putting it somewhere else. And so 2017 trip, we had gotten into the business again, and it was a pretty bloody trip. And yeah, one night when I was just like, man, I don't know if I can do this. I remember, because my demons were just really haunting me and everything like that. And I remember I just opened up my laptop and I started typing, and it just was like page after page after page. And it did. It felt amazing because I wasn't throwing it away, but I was taking it from my chest and putting it on something that I could come back to when I wanted. And I remember, like, one page turned into 10 to 100 to, now, months of writing just when I had time. And now I'm looking at like 500 pages of stuff. So then I start going back through and I start to kind of like organize it, which is the way the book is right now. And I organize it all out and everything. And I was like, man, that was a lot of work. And no one likes to do all that and not get an opinion. And so, I asked a couple of my friends and then family and then some other people. I was like, hey, what do you think? They're like, dude, this is me. Like, you wrote about me. Or yeah, man, like you didn't have to step on an IED. Like that's me. I deal with, and stuff like that. It's, dude, you need to get this out there for people. So that's how the book came about,
Mm-hmm.
was basically writing therapy. But my overall, like, what I've learned through it all, because that book was my therapy from keeping everything inside, and basically,
It was your journal. It wasn't a book at that point, right? I mean, it
yeah,
was more of a personal journal.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, and I was able to really handle, because I was having temper problems, drinking problems, just turn. I mean, again, becoming a victim
Mm-hmm.
and not taking control of my life. And so I started to, through the process, I started to learn that you don't need to be in Afghanistan or Iraq to have your own IEDs. I believe everybody's faced with IEDs in their life. And everyone, believe it or not, everyone's going to hit one. Yeah, it's a metaphor. You can call it anything you want, but that's because that's my job, and I do. I believe everyone will face their IEDs in their life, and when you hit one, you basically have three options. You can lay there and accept death and just say, hey, well, I guess I'll just die. You can lay there and you can wait for help instead of, it's like, well, I'll wait for the people to come and help me. Or you can keep trying to stand up and get pissed off and trying to get your gun back in the fight. And even though you keep falling over and falling over, you keep trying to stand up and you keep trying to move forward. And that actually, that's what the message is basically, regardless of how many times you fall over, because I've fallen over way more than I've stood up, but always continue to try and stand up and get your gun in the fight. And I think, for me, it works that way. I know, in my mind, I can, it kind of works that, we all face our IEDs in life. We really do. Um, but
Well, this is a difficult period, I think, for. I'm speaking of the holiday period, especially, and of course with coronavirus and everything that's going on for the veteran community. This is already a difficult period. You compound that by having, lockdowns and everything else that go on, and I think you're right. I think there are a lot of veterans that do end up facing their demons a lot, and
yep,
each of us try to slay them in a different way. And I think your book is a great message, Ryan. I think it's not just there I was in the valley of death type of thing. You're,
yeah,
it happens to be your story, and so there it is. And it's your journal of how you dealt with those situations and those emotions. But I think what's great is that you're also, very humble in showing that, hey, listen, this is what I did, but what my true message is I'm trying to tell you, I'm no different than you. I'm no
yep,
better than you, and we are very much alike and not different in this situation. And
yep.
there's a positive message here to take away.
Yeah, 100%. This isn't a book about being a Green Beret or anything like that. If you just look back as you read through the book, you'll see, the struggles I had when I was, as a kid, and some of the stuff that happened. You'll see my failure after failure after failure, and wanting to give up, coming close to being one of the 22 a day. You'll see all that until I finally just had to. Enough was enough. I need to take control. And it's not that, the minute you say, oh, I have control, life is great. It's not. But it's the understanding that life is hard. If you know that life doesn't owe you anything, you are way more able to deal with the hardships of it than you are if you think you're owed everything. And I had an entitlement issue that turned me into a victim.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous.
What's
Extremely dangerous.
What you just said there, though, is so important and key too. Is that, and you said at the very beginning, the very first time, but you constantly have to deal with that, right? Because you dealt with in the very beginning when your father told you that. But what you're sharing is that you constantly have to live with not being kind of sucked into the vacuum,
Yep.
and pull yourself out each time to realize that, hey, wait, I got to slap myself in the face again. I need to move forward. I'm calling myself, I'm going back into the victim mode again. I'm going back
Yep.
into the entitlement mode. And so it's not a one and done.
No, no. It's a constant work in progress because life is constantly changing. And so, and just when you think that, hey, I've got control, this is great, life is good.
Here's a
Here comes that
curveball.
other
Yep.
life altering, experience that just completely throws your faith into disarray. But the fact of the matter is having control over your own life rather than having life control you, regardless of how hard it is. I mean, that I wouldn't want something else controlling me. And unfortunately, we see it a lot today. We do see how certain segments of our society are able to control, people through just I don't know, media or whatnot like that. And people have lost the art of having their own self identity, being their own person. Everyone wants to be somebody else instead of who they were or who they are, and that's because we had forgot that none of us are special. We're all unique individuals, but we're not special. We're all part of the same rat race, like I said earlier. And so people was like, well, I'm nobody, so I want to be like this person, or this happened to me, so I deserve this and this. And we've forgot how to take ownership over our lives. But once you start to figure that out, I will say it does get easier, because you do stop letting yourself become a victim so quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't take as long for you to pull yourself out of the vacuum.
Yep.
Most definitely. I can certainly see that, have experienced that. And I think over time, like you're saying, you begin to recognize the signs that are coming at you, that you're allowing yourself to fall prey to that. And so you're quicker then to turn it around and turn it, back into something. And again, it's going to keep doing that your whole life. And the sooner that you recognize that, the better off you're going to be. It's a great message that I think anybody can really benefit from, not just those within the veteran space, but I think for those of us who are still in for people who are still in active duty, for those of us who are veterans, I think it certainly resonates. The message resonates a lot. And it's something that if it means reading a book to help you to get through that and realize that you're not in it alone, then go buy the damn book, because you need to hear this message. Either through you sharing it through a podcast like this, or, through your book or something like that. I think you're just trying to get the message out there, and it's a great message, Ryan.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I know if it could help me. Again, I'm no different than anyone else listening to this at all. I just probably have fallen down a lot more than than your average, but that should give the reader them a little bit of encouragement, like, wow, if this guy can pull himself, because I've heard that from a couple people. They're like, yeah, I did feel sorry for myself until I read your book, and I was like, problem solved.
Ryan, I could probably go on another 2 hours talking with you. Man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. The book is Tip of the Spear. And maybe you can share where people can find you on social media, as well as where they can find your book.
Yeah, so I have a website that's ryanmhendrickson.com. And then I'm on Instagram at Tip of the Spear RMH. And those are the easiest ones right there.
I'll put the link to your website on the show notes and stuff, where people will be able to find it easier as they listen to this. And at the conclusion of it, they want to click that, go buy the book. I encourage everybody to do that. Follow you on Instagram, all those types of great things. You got a great message you're putting out there. And again, Ryan, I really appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, brother.